Okay, sorry, it hung up there for a minute. We're good to go. Mr. Burley, if you're okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, manager's update. I only have one item really, and that's the 2023 capital improvements plan. There was one project that's submitted for this, and it's submitted annually. I also happened to put this on ops and policy last week, but it technically is for this committee, and it's the borough's comprehensive plan update. This is not a time to talk about the comprehensive plan. Just this particular package is something we typically keep in the capital improvements plan because it is a long-term item and because it can run into several $1,000s over time. If you recall, we keep it active. We try to keep the comprehensive plan active because we need it for things like grants that we apply for and also for things like Sustainable Pittsburgh, Sustainable Pennsylvania. That's part of our recognition for getting whatever certification we get from them. So again, this committee just needs to look at this whenever you want to, either now or next month, and decide whether or not you want to recommend it for Finance Committee in October and or make any changes. I don't know if you have any comments now or if you want to just move on from there.
Well, we can move on. Not unless
Okay.
somebody else has comments.
All right, I'll put the, take a look at it, review it. I'll have it on the agenda for the October, I'm sorry, for the September committee meeting. Okay. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Don, are you here? Mr. Branzel?
He was.
He was. Yes, he was.
He's
Oh,
still
here we
here.
are. Here we are. Mr. Branzel? Don? He must be muted.
I don't know.
Oh, Mr. Branzel?
No, he's unmuted.
Hmm.
Dawn? He just
Dawn?
disappeared.
He appears to be frozen.
Yes, he does. Don? I don't know what to do, Steve.
Well, we can move on. He looks like he signed off. Maybe he's going to try to sign back on.
Okay.
The only thing I would have to say about two things that Don maybe wanted to mention. One is that you did get from Dave Naylor a code enforcement update in an email a few days ago. He's been sending it to you. Here he comes back, I hope. And also, you all probably know that Ted Gilbert passed away, our former arborist.
Yes.
We don't really know any more information. Dawn's been getting some stuff from the family, but doesn't look like they're going to do very much. Dawn, are you back?
I would like to comment on that. I think the plaque on his tree, I would like to put flowers at the base of the tree in his honor.
Sounds good,
Thank you.
Patty.
No,
Sounds real good.
we did move that plaque to the tree at the back. I don't necessarily know
know.
if I like it there, but for now, I thought at least it was out of the way of any of the other landscaping we might do. So,
That's an okay place for it. I
Yeah.
mean, it should have some flowers at the base for a little while anyway.
okay. Dawn, are you back?
Now he's
Cute.
I think Dawn's hung up.
Yes. Do we move on, Steve, or wait for
Yeah,
Don?
I don't have anything else to report for this committee.
Okay, well, the committee business report is that, we're trying to decide on where the sign should be for the kids that, are getting the bus stops. And I'm in the process of working with, I thought it was going to be the school, but I think it's the bus company as to where the stops are going to be. I know that Patty has done some things in her report regarding the planning for how the stops are going to be and where they're going to be, so forth. But right now, I'm in the process of trying to find out from the school district where they feel the bus stop should be for the kids. I know that Angelo has done a tremendous job in his research, and I'd like to continue with that. So that's all I have. Thank you. Anybody have any questions about anything?
I don't know what's happening.
Oh,
Can you
Dawn,
hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, here we're done. Okay, here we are.
Dawn, you're fading in and out.
I would switch off your video. Maybe that helps.
Oh,
Don?
Can you hear me, Bill?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm here.
Everybody else
I'm
here?
here.
Okay, okay,
Are you ready?
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know what. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you have a square,
Can
Don.
you hear me
Okay.
now?
Yes.
Okay. A couple things to report. Last Saturday, July the 30th, we had that storm that came through, and we had a severe broken limb up on Hawthorne Road and a huge limb on Williams Place. It came down and did a little bit of damage. And along with that, we had 5 trees that came down in the rear of the lodge in the back, where the bocce courts and the horseshoe courts are. And there was 5 trees that come down there, which we had to have cleaned up, and that was a total. Thursday, the vouchers from Duquesne Light for Bright Park to replace those trees that they had taken out. So I have those vouchers and a list of the trees that can be planted, which I'll cover tomorrow with the tree and shrub meeting, and go from there and pass it on to you folks. I also had 5 calls on that. He did some research today. He called me this afternoon, and he's going to email me some information from Penn State. Maybe that we can put information on the website for the residents to take care of the bugs on. Hello?
yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah, I I don't know if you heard about that. I had 5 calls yesterday regarding the spotted lanternflies.
Yes.
And one thing that's on my mind is that what do we do when we have spotted lanternflies on our bur trees? Are we going to be responsible, or is it the homeowner?
If that's directed at me, we'll have a discussion offline about that.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Bill, do you have anything more? You're muted if you do. Wow, we're losing everybody. Mr. Burley? Okay.
I'm not muted.
No, you're
You're
okay,
fine.
Dawn. We've lost Bill Burley now too. Mr. Burley, you there? I think that was all he had for his committee. If you folks are okay with moving on.
I think we should move on.
Okay, give me just a couple of seconds. I just need to save what I just did, and I'll go to finance. Finance Committee. Okay, I'm ready. And Ms. DeMarco wanted to start off.
Yes, I'd just like to make a few comments at the beginning. First of all, to thank everyone who participated in the budget workshop that we had a week or so ago. I hope you found it helpful. And Mr. Morris, I thank you for your very comprehensive presentation that you gave to us. As we're thinking about the next budget cycle, I have a couple of things I want to keep in mind. First of all, there are a number of engineering reports that have been given us regarding the Westinghouse Lodge and other buildings. I would like to have, as we're looking at our operating budget as well as our capital budget, that we put some priority on deferred maintenance and efficiency improvements and improvements that have to do with health and safety in particular as priority. I know we've had some things that have been just kicked down the road for a number of years. I think we need to begin to pay attention to things like mold, water intrusion, deterioration, asbestos, crumbling, things of that nature. I'd really like to prioritize that. And I think some of that may be in operations, and others of it will have to be in the capital budget. So I think we need to look at those carefully and make sure we allocate funds. Some of them I think we can do even toward the end of this year after we're finished with, summer outside work. Secondly, I would like to look at our projects that are proposed from the staff on the worksheets in tandem with the report that was received from Siemens so that we can sort our capital budget into things that can be put into the energy performance contract and things that should be in our capital budget. I think it will allow us to make better use of our capital funds. And I also would like to put in a note to pay attention that if we are seriously looking for electric vehicle infrastructure additions of some sort, there is a capital match for that in the federal money, as far as I know, about 20%. So I'd like to just keep those ideas in mind as we're looking through the details of the budget. And we obviously won't be having the discussion about that until the September Finance Committee meeting. So we have time to evaluate and analyze all of this information. And that I think just I wanted to remind people to please keep those things in mind. And Mr. Morris, I would like to ask you to put the treasurer's report, this single page, into the information packet in the business meeting of the council under finance, please.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The one page on one and a half
Yeah,
page on
right.
two sides, it says treasurer's report,
Yeah,
June 2022. I would like to have that in the information packet for the Borough Council business meeting
well,
on a regular basis.
if it's ready, you always get it in advance
Well,
of the meeting.
I know in advance of the meeting, but I'd like it in the public document that goes out to the public, this treasurer's report. I
And the
think
thing
it
that
would
goes
help.
on the agenda, you mean? I mean, on the website, you mean?
Well, it should be on the website anyway, but on the packet that goes out to the public at the meeting.
There is no packet, it's just an agenda. That's why I'm trying to ask you what you mean. I'm not
All
sure.
right, I'll come into your office and talk to you about it.
Well, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I just don't know what you
I
mean.
think he means to add as an attachment to the agenda.
Yes, under
Okay.
finance.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say at this point, and I welcome your report, your update.
Okay, I don't know if I got all those things written down. So if you had that
I'll
on a
give them
piece of
to you in
paper-
writing.
Yeah. Okay, manager's update. I'm sorry, wait a minute, I'm just finishing typing here. Okay, first cash flow. I gave you attached to your agenda the cash flow report. If you don't have it, this is the graph that I attached, and You notice that the red line is this year and it's down as it goes into the end of July. It's lower than it is for most other recent years. So I think it means that things should be definitely monitored with the cash situation. And I gave you a couple of examples of some things that should be paid attention to on there on the agenda that I gave you. I'll let you read that on your own unless you have any questions or anything about it. I do know that we have a minor software glitch with some money being doubled as far as fuel is concerned. And we have to correct that. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we're in touch with the software people on that issue. I don't know if anybody wants me to go through the revenue and expenditure items I have written here. I'm assuming you can read them. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions?
Oh,
I
don't
did-
have any.
I did have a question about the fuel, the liquid fuels budget. Do you think that's an accounting mistake? Or do you think we're actually using a lot more liquid fuel?
Liquid fuels budget is different from what I'm talking about. These are this is the fuel that we pump at our gas pumps that
Okay, do you
it's
think,
just
what I'm
with the
asking you is,
information
do
being
you think
placed in.
do you think we're pumping more out of our pumps because
No.
the price is higher everywhere else and they're coming here?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that we're inputting numbers into the budget and for some reason it's doubling the number.
Okay,
That, and not into the budget, into the financial software. I'm sorry, I'm a little out of it here right now, I guess. We're putting money into the line items and for some reason it's doubling the money in some cases. We're not sure why. So we're trying to get that software glitch worked out. That's what I'm talking about. It's nothing to do with pumping gas or anything like that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Capital improvements plan. All the forms have been distributed to the various committees. Mainly the committees from last week got a number of things. And what I did was provide you with a summary of all the projects attached to, let's see here, I'm sorry. A summary separately sent in an email to you. This is the start of the summary for all the items that were provided to us for the new capital plan. And I'm sorry, I sound like I'm dyslexic or something right now. I don't know what's wrong here. I'm not focusing. There are a couple of things to point out here with the capital plan. First, this committee isn't going to really get to it until October, but you do see that there is information on here from 2022, including actual through July 31st. And then the 5-year plan numbers are over here to the right. I did not include, again, the vehicle list because I gave that to everybody last week for Public Works. But the vehicle list is also part of this, and it's summarized in the Public Works section of that spreadsheet right here in this area. Okay, but there's more detail on the vehicle list, so you definitely want to take a look at that. There are also 2 items that I highlighted in yellow because I think they're important. I wanted to call your attention to them. One is the geographic information system. We have been using that out of the corrective action budget. We're required to have a GIS system. Mine has never been updated though. It hasn't been updated for several years now because of some issues we've had back and forth with the engineer and what they're able to do with our package. So I'm not exactly sure where it goes from here, but I do know we're required to have one because of the sewer issues that are going on. So I wanted to mention that right now we've been showing that as part of the corrective action budget, whatever we need to, but we haven't really had any need for anything right now. I didn't want to let that go though. So I wanted to point that out. And then under recreation, on the last page, I highlighted playground equipment because at one time we had this in the capital plan and it was taken out a few years back. But I think that we have issues in some cases and we need to monitor them and we need to be ready to replace playground equipment as it gets older. Some pieces of playground equipment are getting older. The crew does a pretty good job checking on those things, but still something to pay attention to. That's why I left it in this list. I also noticed there were some other issues with the projects that I gave out last week. So consequently, there's one new project I emailed to you with these agendas for public safety. And that was window replacement in the volunteer fire department building. There was a mistake on that. So the one I sent you is corrected. So if you look at your packet for public safety, if you just remove the one for window replacement, that would be good. And then in borough property, I don't know how I did this, but I accidentally included in there some repetition, some things that had been included in other projects, or there were duplicates of projects. I have a list here on the agenda I gave you of ones. So I sent out a new packet in the email this afternoon. If anybody needs a hard copy, just email me, we'll get that to you. But I sent out a new packet. It includes a last minute addition from the Environmental Advisory Council. It also includes elimination of those duplicates. We tried to combine some categories in budgets. If you notice too, when we're doing a budget, whether it's capital or general fund, we try not to list individual items. For example, in the general fund, you typically wouldn't say that we want to buy pool umbrellas and have that as a separate category for pool. You would stick umbrellas under supplies or equipment. That's the best practice, a typical best practice you do in accounting. You don't try to get and add a number of different new line items. You try to make sure that various categories are in there and things are included in categories. That's the same thing that should happen with these capital projects. So that's what I did in updating that list for borough property. Does anybody have any questions for me on the capital?
I have one, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, please.
When I was looking at some of the forms and being new, I just had a question. If some of the repairs to the Westinghouse Lodge basement were coming from ARPA funds and other places, I noticed the water remediation was moved, was listed in 2023. I was just wondering, is there any reason why, considering that until the water is all, the leaks are all made good there will still be mold and asbestos. So I thought perhaps if we could look at repairing and doing the water remediation this year and just ask that the funds come out of the ARPA, could we?
Yes, that's exactly the kind of thing I need you folks to do when you look at these packets and then report on them at the September committee meeting for borough property, this case. That you need to make those changes.
So
okay,
Steve,
what I'm showing you,
that would come under the category of things I was mentioning at the beginning, things that are critical for efficiency improvements and health and safety improvements. So we'll look at all of those in that manner.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you so much, Mr. Morris.
Sure. Anybody else? Item C on my report is 2023 budget. We start preparation in August, and if you were at the budget meeting in July, you know why I operate it the way I do. I explained that at least in writing in my budget packet, so I'm not going to go over that all to you. But I did email to everybody the complete budget packet that staff will get starting tomorrow. Council is certainly always welcome to be a part of this process through the staff that work with you. So for example, if you wanted to work with Cindy at part of Recreation Borough Property, Ms. Martin, please do that. So you're only submitting to me one budget. I don't want competing budgets. But,
I see.
But I do ask the staff either to talk with their council person that's in charge of the various committees, or to talk with me and we'll meet. You can certainly suggest different things that you want to them. But one of the things I wanted to mention is that But the first page of my memo does mention that there are two big problems we're going to be dealing with. One is the assessment issue, and that's not resolved yet. And two is inflation. So I'm going to ask staff to not overdo the budget here, anything that they can affect, that is, because there are a number of items they can't affect. But I'm going to ask staff to not necessarily look for increases in things, and maybe if possible to make some cuts until we know what's going on. I don't know how easy that will be to do, because I know there's a number of things that are automatically going to go up, like utilities, and of course some salaries and benefits will go up and things like that. But in any case, you can read that in my memo. I just wanted to point that out to you. Mr. Erbeldiner?
You mentioned like you can't make it to the November Finance Committee, which I think it's scheduled on November 10th. Could you make it the week before, November 3rd?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
election
leaving here on the 5th or 6th, I forget, whatever the Friday is.
If no one else has a strong objection, I think we should change that to the 3rd. So you can, because I think it's an important time for you to be there.
Well, I mean, there's time to decide that. So if you want to think about it, and we'll
I think we can
consider
do it
that.
now. I mean, we have to publicize it anyway. I think we should just do it. If
Okay.
no- Steve Corbett,
That
do you have?
election day, is that election day, Marcus?
No, it's Thursday. I want to move it to Thursday.
You want to move to Thursday?
I want to move it from the 10th Thursday to the 3rd Thursday.
Would you just move the one committee, or would you
No,
move?
just the one.
Because now you're talking about 5 committees on one night.
No. At the moment, we have the first committee is scheduled on November 1st.
I don't have that. I don't have my calendar. I'm sorry.
I just want to move the second committee day from the 10th, where you are gone, to the 3rd Thursday. I don't want to touch the first one.
Okay,
So we'd have in the first week of November, we'd have committee meetings on the 1st and the 3rd.
right, okay, yeah.
Steve Corbett, do you have any objection? Okay, we should do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm like I said, I'm not focusing or something here. So you want all the committees from the 10th?
No.
Switch? No.
I want to keep the Tuesday committees as scheduled.
So we're just going to add finance and have 5 committees that one
No.
night.
I want the Tuesday committees go ahead as planned, as scheduled, on Tuesday, November 1st.
Yeah,
And then I want to move the second committee day, which is currently scheduled on November 10th, Thursday, move it by a week to November 3rd.
oh, I see, the 3rd, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
But I guess we don't have to publicize it yet. Maybe we have to do some other things we have to publicize anyway. So I would keep it on a list. Somehow we can publicize it at some later point.
The host stopped your video.
Okay, I'm just making a note of that. Yeah, I probably won't advertise this for a couple of months because
Yes.
there's no need to, but
That would work, though. That would work.
okay. All right, did anybody else have any questions about the budget? Please read over that budget packet and you can read my notes here. And again, feel free to interact with staff. I'm asking them to get a budget and anything they're going to submit to me by the 26th of September so that I can give it to Finance Committee the first at the meeting in October. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, item D, assessment issue. We discussed that in a meeting in July, that budget meeting in July. I don't really have any changes. You can see my note there from what I recall the discussion. So I really don't have anything else to add to that unless you do. I'll go on to my next item if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Bond issue spending, there is no update there either. We're going to follow the format that we discussed where we're going to reimburse the bond issue from the fire fee. We're using the public works trucks that were allocated from the bond issue first, and then the money left over will go to the Westinghouse Lodge
Great.
as approved by council. And then the final thing, ARPA fund use, you already voted to accept the lost revenue provision allowed by the Treasury. You indicated the 2 projects would be first, the Alcoasand sewer regionalization, and second, the Forest Hills Westinghouse Rec Lodge as approved by council. You of course have to go in and approve anything more formally once you're ready to go with that by vote, but at least for right now, you've taken the initiative to accept the lost revenue provision, which gives you some flexibility and allows you to pretty much do whatever you want with the money generally.
Now, did Mr. Gilliland indicate that the sewer the sewer project would be finished by the end of August? And will be finished with the invoicing for that at that point?
That
Or
I
was
don't-
that held up with the Ardmore Boulevard construction?
That I don't know yet. Laura, by any chance, do you happen to know when the Alcoasand sewer project is going to be finished? I know you're going to have somebody on here later to talk about that under committee of the whole.
Yeah, I mean, I have, I was gonna give a background on the project and then we can ask, Jeremy questions. He's from Standard Pipe Services. It's gonna depend on, I guess, the outcome of this meeting or what you guys decide whenever, he can get it finished. He's on the call.
Okay,
Okay.
he'll be under committee of the whole.
All right,
in
I'll
a-
leave
in a
it. till
couple of
then, thank
minutes.
you.
Does anybody else have anything else for me? And I apologize at the beginning. I wasn't trying to get anybody upset. I just was having trouble following what was going on. So I guess it's old age. I don't know.
Sorry, I'll do
Everybody
my,
have
I'll
anything
do
else?
my, I'll do my chairman reports in writing in the future, sorry.
Well, okay. I'm finished. That's all I have.
That adjourns Finance Committee at this time.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll have committee of the whole up. Okay, I'm fine with committee of the whole, President Erbaldinger. There's two groups that are speaking here in the first. I'm going to see if they're on here. Mr. Bibb is here with Ms. Brandhoover to talk about the Alcoasand issue because Bob Zisko is not available. So, Mr. Bibb, I have you active here to speak, if you're okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm here just to answer any questions. I know there's a change order because PennDOT, after we ordered the liner for the one remaining line, they had added a bypass that's dumping sewer from another line into the manhole that we need to install the liner through. So we were not able to put that last liner in. The rest of the work, I believe, we'll be finishing up in the next week or so. But the only one thing that we're waiting on is the change order to get approved so that we can change the bypass that PennDOT is doing and add some pipe into their bypass to extend it down a couple line sections so that we can go ahead and put that last liner in.
I think the question from council had been, why is the borough paying for this? It wasn't at $10,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Well,
I have a little bit of background on the whole thing, and I don't know that Jeremy would know specifically why the borough is paying for it. He's from Standard Pipe, so he's the one who came up with the solution and is asking for the change order. The problem, like Jeremy stated, is that Faye's pumping their sanitary line, bypassing across Ardmore Boulevard and up into the manhole that Jeremy needs to use. His fix to be able to place the liners is what's going to cost $10,000. I spoke with PennDOT today and trying to convince them that this is their fault since Forest Hills was unaware of this issue. As far as I know, nobody knew that Faye was going to be pumping into this manhole. So PennDOT's on the hook for messing up this project for us. The problem for Jeremy is that he purchased the liners and they'll expire if he doesn't place them. Faye's going to be pumping into that line until the end of November. And I think the liners need placed in the next couple weeks. So my suggestion is that we approve the change order so Jeremy's liners don't go bad and keep going after PennDOT to get them to pay the $10,000. Like I said, I spoke with them today and they understood what I was saying. Now, getting the $10,000 is obviously a different issue, but if we don't place the liners, we're gonna be out $30,000 in liners. I guess, I sent them an email giving them a full list of the problem and how they were responsible for it. I'm just waiting for a response from them right now.
I think your plan makes sense. You know, we
Did
are
you
obviously out $10,000, but we don't want to lose another 30,000. So we should do the change order and go after PennDOT after the fact.
Yeah, and I've already started pursuing PennDOT. I got in contact with the person that I needed to and sent them a whole background of everything that's happening. So we're on the right path. I don't
Yeah.
have a definite answer right now.
But
Would
we
you
should do the
copy us
change. We should do the change order.
Would you copy us on all of that correspondence, please? Because I'm in
Sure.
communication with DOT as well, and I'd like to be aware of what
Sure.
is going on. Thank you.
And just so you guys know, can I say, I've been storing the liner, which has to stay frozen since this issue occurred. And I'm not charging anybody for that, but like she said, the liner is only good for so long, and I've already been storing it for over a month. So time is pretty crucial, because if the liner goes bad, you know,
We
you're
should,
gonna have to order another one, which is gonna just increase the cost.
we should go ahead with a change order. We should do that. And then
Okay,
we
so,
worry about PennDOT after the fact.
so it just needs signed and we can go ahead and we're not worried about going to vote. I think Bob Zisco, Laura, I think Bob Zisco had sent us something on that, but I don't know if we still have it. Can you resend it? And
Yeah.
then, do you want to sign it, Mr. Erbaldinger, or do you want me to sign it?
Or you can sign it too. I think you.
Okay, does it need to be signed by the president of council? Do you know? No?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, well then if you get it to me, I can sign it and return it tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else about the Alcoasand issue for Mr. Bibb or Laura?
No.
Okay, Mr. Bibb, thank you for attending. We appreciate it. You're free to go.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
And thank you for storing the liner for us.
No problem.
All right, next we have the Siemens presentation. So Jonathan,
I'm bringing Jonathan Zeller on here to talk first, and then
Yeah.
if we need to bring anybody else in, he can tell me.
Yep. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you again for inviting us this time. I know time's of the essence, but I would like to introduce my team members. They are also on. David Weaver, I believe, is going to lead a brief presentation to outline some of the building automation technologies that we're considering as part of the Guaranteed Savings Act project that we've been developing for the borough. He's going to briefly outline, I guess, the range of potential that is available to the borough. And after today's presentation, if any other stakeholders would like to follow up and have a more detailed workshop, we're happy to return and schedule that at a later date. But with that, I'll turn it over to David. David, you on?
Should be.
He is on.
He's just muted. Mr. Weaver, you should be active in your, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Apologize for that. Siemens makes us stick to Teams pretty much. So when we get to Zoom, we kind of fumble around a little bit. So first of all, thank you guys for having us come here and having us be a part of this city. It's been actually great listening to the effort to drive this. So I'm in Vermont and I support the Atlantic Zone for Siemens, covering from Memphis, Tennessee, across to Baltimore, Maryland, and down to Norfolk, Virginia, which you guys fall into for me. So I've been talking with the folks at the, okay, share screen. Let me just.
Do you need to share the screen? I'm sorry, hold on.
Oh, no, I think I'm getting it. And
I have to give you permission.
Oh, okay.
Hold
Do
on.
I have permission, sir?
Yes, you should be good now,
All right.
I think.
And do you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
All right,
here
wait a
we-
minute. Let me see if I did something wrong here.
No, I think I got it.
You got it? Okay.
It's coming.
I had to hit the button for share screen again. Now, do you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes.
So what we have is looking at the portfolio of stuff
David,
that
can
you
you
have.
do me a small favor? Can you just show the one slide so a little bit bigger? Like we see
Yep,
your.
let me give that a whirl there. Okay, and I think I need to go back to.
No, I think you just need to.
No,
click-
just go to slideshow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I did, I got 3 screens and it went to the wrong screen that I'm sharing.
Wow.
So let me see if I'll unshare and let me go to this share, because I think that when I go here, there, how's that?
Better.
Better, much better. Now we are.
Oh, all right, now let me scroll up. So we have a product that's a SaaS product, software as a service product in the cloud. And part of the beauty and the strength of it, the main focus is to enable us to capture data from various systems, of which you guys have. And so what we were able to do with this is you've got the one building that has building automation and controls, DDC, in it. So we're able to put this over the top of that Honeywell system and start to extract the data out of it. But also what we're able to do is put thermostats in each of the other smaller building, regardless of the system that they have, that will give us the information and the ability to extract that. So we can start to, one, glean an understanding as to how these buildings are performing and really identify where our fastest ROI is, our return on an investment for driving the savings. And part of what I really, really like about this new platform that we've created is, rather than historically where we'd be just focused on facilities, we're creating a platform with one is agnostic of any system that's out there, including your solar panels, bringing that all into a data repository, and then the ability to take and parcel out that data for the various people, whether it's, focused on the people side of things and understanding what the air quality is and so forth in those spaces. And leading up to this, I was on I was on the USGBC, the Green Building Council, for the state of New Hampshire. And we went to the town of Durham, who had, and this is where I'm thinking is identifying this, the town of Durham built a new town hall right across the road from their old town hall. And when they did that, they saw over a 30% reduction in sick leave from the people that worked in the town hall. And I was chatting with one gentleman when I was there, and he went to work at the town of Durham right after university and had developed asthma. And when they moved to the new building, he all of a sudden, a couple months later, was able to give up his inhaler. The asthma went away in the new space. So the focus goes from just traditional, how is the boiler up and running, the chiller up and running, to more, what is the air quality and how are we affecting the people in that space? And, how are they experiencing it? What is our impact on the environment? So using that data for more than just what is the traditional purposes. But once we have the data, our focus has been not just controlling the systems, but what does the sustainability manager need? What does the building operations manager need? And it's not advancing. Oh, let me do that. Why is it not advancing on your slides? All right. There we have a little bit of a lag. I apologize. And did you guys see that one when I was on that one?
We see now page 2.
Okay. Yep. All right. So this was just the one I was talking to before about that, where you've got 50% of people typically, and this is, statistical data, that are in sick leave because of poor ventilation of buildings. And I think that was actually touched on before in some of the conversations, understanding what the mold is, understanding where the risks are in that space. And then, making sure like 50% of all facility staff will be retiring over the next decade. making sure that we digitize those spaces so that we can more effectively manage them and be predictive rather than reactive to those spaces. And then, the other benefit of it is focusing on the environment. And the 75%, commercial buildings are energy inefficient. So taking that, but then, there we go. I'm lagging for some reason too myself, folks. Focusing on reports that have value to somebody that cares about sustainability and have value to somebody who cares about building operations or security and stuff like that, but bringing it all into one dashboard and giving you a holistic approach to it. And really what we're done is just take your traditional, like what you guys have is a thermostat that tells the boiler to come on, come off, giving it more advanced and moving from into the smart building infrastructure and taking you guys on a path towards autonomous building. You guys have a 15-year focus on this, and this software, the SaaS, would enable you to push into that and really open up your capabilities. There's a whole host of stuff that, I'm looking forward to digging a little deeper with you guys on. But, just initially, just being able to capture, and I'm going to jump because I know we only had 20 minutes here, to some of the dashboards that we'll have. So if somebody's more focused on what is your energy, how much are you using, can you reduce that spend? There's a visual portal for the energy manager, the operations manager. How are those buildings working? How are they performing for us today? There's a portal for them, and they're not wasting their time on data that has no relevance to what they care about. And then there's the digital viewer, being able to see, what is actually in that space if you've got pipes buried in the wall. And this is where we're seeing a lot of facilities that are starting to move towards that with the labor issue, where if you've got somebody that knows exactly what's in all 15 buildings, for example, and you've got an intern there, you can, on a Sunday night, there's an issue, that person can guide that person through with the 360 viewer on over here to your right, up to your left a little bit. That's where you're going to find that valve to shut off. And then there's a portal also for security manager. A lot of what I see in municipalities with higher ed is that there's multiple security systems, there's multiple camera systems, and harmonizing that all into one platform. I was down with Georgia Tech the other day chatting with them, and they were complaining. The guy in security said, here you go, here's my issue, look at the floor. And what he pointed out was there was grooves in the floor from people rolling chairs back and forth with multiple systems and just trying to keep track of everything. He said, I want it on one screen. I want the ease of flipping through without having people rolling back, forth, trying to do that. So this is really kind of the focus. And I've been chatting with tackling this in a very economically efficient way. And then, bringing that data in so that we have interoperable transparency for all the spaces in your portfolio. And one of the key things is once we do this, we open it up to APIs, and I'm not sure, does anybody on the board understand APIs and all that?
No. No.
So APIs, if you have Amazon Alexa or you have a Nest thermostat or anything, it's an open protocol that really speeds up the ability to sort of integrate things too, and that's where the world's moving. So to create a data platform where we're gaining insights and we have stuff like, if you want to think of, maybe there's a Parks and Rec scheduling system, and somebody would be able to go in and schedule that I want a court time or pool lanes or whatever else like that. But it would also be tied into the building system so that if there was no scheduling for winter near Christmas at, 10 o'clock, then that building would go into setback because it would see that there was nothing scheduled in there. What it's done is it takes where these seemingly disparate systems that you wouldn't think would be connected can now be connected. And I'll give you an example. At Harvard University, they had a scheduling system for the classrooms. And when a professor said, I want this lecture hall for 50 people on Friday, what he did was he loaded it into their scheduling system, their EMS system, and it went to the facilities in the form of an email. And along with the other 30,000 emails that facilities got, that would fall through the cracks, and the professor would show up with the students and the doors would be locked and the room wouldn't be ready for them. And they reached out to us. Harvard said, there's got to be a better way to do this. And they reached out to us, and they reached out to the scheduling software company. The scheduling software company reached out to Siemens to say, how can we communicate with your system that unlocks the doors, that puts the temperature correct, that makes sure the lights are on and stuff like that? And we said, can you speak RESTful API? And they said, yeah, absolutely. Within, like, I think it was an hour and a half, they had the code written that would integrate their system to our system and make it interoperable. And that's what you are availing yourself by taking these steps. Is we're going backwards and grabbing the older systems. We're giving you command and control of them for scheduling. We're giving insights for sustainability, energy performance, and how we need to manage this facility. But we're also starting to take a look into the future of how we now, with this openness, this one platform that will communicate, what else can we do? And that will be the real interesting part of a 15-year journey. When I work with clients such as yourself, I don't think of this as today. I think of this as, how do we build a strategy that builds a better town for the next 15 or 20 years? And with that, I'll shut up and open up the questions.
Okay, so my mind is spinning, and I know I'm going to get everybody mad if we extend this, but we're looking at putting in an electric microgrid, and whether it has 2 focal points or 1, we have to get some input from the utility company. But could this kind of a system help to integrate a microgrid that might eventually include some of our commercial customers or commercial residents?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So and I apologize for my camera. I got a brand new laptop, and all the technology we have, and we can't make a camera work on a brand new laptop without being overexposed. So especially with I heard some discussion on the EV charging and stuff.
Yeah.
Understanding the demand on that grid, a level 2 charger is the equivalent of putting a new house on the grid for the year. Okay. And a level 3 charger is the equivalent of putting a subdivision on the grid for the year. So, the stress on that, having those insights and being able to better manage that is absolutely paramount to the success of making sure that somebody's not showing up to a charger and they think it's only going to take 3 hours to do it, and they go back to their car and there's really nothing in there. Being able to be in front of that rather than responding to that is really key. And then the other thing that we're able to do is demand response, is to look out. So say you have a large facility and you've got chargers outside, and we know, and again, tying into the scheduling software, OSU, Ohio State, we're working on this platform, that if it sees that the scheduling is going away, like everybody's leaving the school Thursday afternoon, and there's a high demand for charging, what it's going to do is let those building spaces drift and then use that energy towards the EV chargers.
Okay.
Type stuff.
Thank you.
So yeah, there's many ways, and it's just taking a thoughtful approach to it. And we actually have a gentleman that we do these co-creation sessions with larger projects, especially around, urban redevelopment, cities, etc., to sort of take a holistic look at where the future is going to go and how do we sort of plan ahead for that. Because there's nothing worse. I came from the data center fiber optic space, and there was nothing worse than building something out for a client that ended up being a dead end. And now you're spending millions of dollars to go in another direction.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, anyone else has
Pardon?
questions? No, I was also asking the same question. If anyone has questions to you. Doesn't seem like. Thank you.
So What I'd like to do is, if, I think may have the opportunity going forward to do a little deeper dive, because I know this was about a way too much for anybody in 5 minutes. And I was trying to think how I could sieve down a world of technology into 20 minutes. And it was an interesting challenge. So I look forward to further discussions with you folks.
I think we will be having further discussions as we look at our energy performance meetings. I think we agreed that we were going to be doing working sessions more frequently. I'm not sure we've set them up yet, but I think we'll ask to include you in one or more of those sometime, relatively soon, so we can understand how this all fits together better. It might be useful when we get our feedback from the electric company. Maybe that would be a good time for you to be sitting in, so we can, help us digest what we hear from them.
And work, cohesively with everybody, the electric company, you folks, et cetera, to make sure that we've got a really well-gelled strategy and that we're not piecemealing it.
Okay.
Would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we go to manager's update. Steve. Steve, I think you are mute too.
Can't unmute because he's not stopped sharing or something. I don't know what's going on here. Wait a minute.
I'll start hitting some buttons here, see if I can unshare. Disable share, okay.
Right,
think
Is
they
that
could-
better?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, folks.
Okay, just one item. I just want to make sure that you're aware that we might need to talk about workers' comp insurance in exec session, so I can explain detail. You don't really have any choice though here. The only carrier we're going to be able to use is the State Workers Insurance Fund, and that's the new premium compared with the one we had before. If you want to go into detail on why and how, that's probably more for exec session. That's all I have, unless you have a question for me.
You should probably be prepared to talk about it the exec session in 2 weeks about that. But I think you're right. We have no other choice anyway. So
Right.
next we have solicitors report.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Just a few updates. For this upcoming meeting, there is an ordinance that we discussed with respect to the Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority, extension of the authority for 50 years. That ordinance will be on the agenda. Additionally, the bids for the senior center are due this Friday, if we get any. And if we do not, then we will, take advantage of the new law that was enacted earlier this year, and we can move forward with entering into a sale agreement with a private party when one becomes available. And then lastly, there are a few ordinances that we should probably have motions on the agenda to authorize me to prepare and advertise. That would include the noxious weed ordinance that I've worked with Ms. Martin on, and is ready to go. We can share a copy with you all for executive session next week. There's also the accessory use with respect to the planter boxes, if you will. I've also worked with Ms. Martin on that. So I think that's the only, let me check my notes here real quick. Yeah, those are the other two that are out there.
So obnoxious weed, why does it need to go to exec? Couldn't we just have it as a motion on the business meeting?
Yeah, it will, but I'll pass out a draft for all of you to take a look at in case you have any additional feedback.
Okay, so you don't think it's ready for this month? We have to do it for next month.
Yeah, it won't be ready for 2 weeks from now. I mean, y'all have to take a look at it. So,
Okay.
but we'll be in a good place that any feedback you give me at the beginning of September will be integrated before the voting meeting in September, which is when you'll adopt it. So,
Sounds good.
but that's all I had.
Okay. Next, we have report from the council president. First, we had a meeting with Siemens, like Bob, Patty, and myself, and Steve Morse. And Patty, could you just briefly summarize what we talked about at that meeting?
Yeah, we discussed the detailed engineering audit that I mentioned in my finance report that were done for all 7 buildings and identified in the report that went to all of you the critical improvements that are listed in order of priority. And also we discussed the ones that were most likely to have a good payback for us. And they are going to give us a revised list based on our discussion. I think the 2 things that I want to emphasize are that first, while we're all very interested in, putting on solar and adopting electric vehicle infrastructure, we have to attend to the basics of tightening up the efficiency and stopping the leaks and getting the equipment that we have operating optimally to begin with. And then second, trading out those things where we can cost effectively trade out the older boilers, as in the Westinghouse Lodge. Some of the others are not ready to trade out just yet, but there should be a progression. And I think that can be integrated very well into the 5-year capital plan. And then we can sort out what will go into the energy performance contract and what we will be able to spend on our own capital budget improvements so that we're efficient with our funding. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I was trying to keep it brief, but I found it very helpful.
Just in general, like pretty much all of our buildings, like fire hall, the building pool building, the building envelope was like a $20,000 charge.
Yeah.
But return of investment would be like $5,000-6,000 per year in savings.
Yep.
So those are kind of low-hanging fruits. There are some other things like the main pool boiler to make it environmentally friendly costs like a lot of money, but save you plenty of money. So we kind of axe that. We want to look for return of investment, not just if it's good for the environment.
Exactly. And we're also looking at the solar and EV components being supported by grant funding to the extent we can. So, and that we still don't even have guidance on.
Yeah, those were really big ticket items.
Yeah, they're very big.
Those were like $200,000, like those big fast EV chargers. We made clear Forest Hills won't pay for that with our own money,
right?
But we try to find
grant funds.
And with Biden money, it may be easier to get those funding. Right? Thank you.
Yeah. Anything anyone wants to add from that?
Bob, you went to the meeting. Do you have anything to add?
No, you 2 explained it great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And John, thank you and your team for the work that you did on this so far. I'm looking forward to working with you as we advance this to the next step.
All right. I have one other item.
Sorry, didn't know if you could hear. Oh, didn't know if you could hear me, but thank you very much, Patty. Looking forward to working with everybody.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tim as well.
I had one other item, and we talked at Public Works about Forest Hills Road, and it's a mess because the lady with the wheelchair, who we were worried about liability because she toppled over on our road. She wants it paved nicely that she can't, that she can get to her car. So 2 of the neighbors, I'm not even sure the entire street, are like against it. And I would like to ask Dave Gillian to do an assessment what we can do. We might be able to, like the whole drainage issue, I think I can see clearly it's a mess because like the storm basin, you can see there's like a 2-3 inch concrete frame around the hole. So the water will never get in. It just goes right into Cherry Valley, a little bit downhill. So I think it needs to be fixed no matter what. The question is, I think you can just redo like a foot or 2 on each side on the curb, but then you could keep the bricks. But the lady with a wheelchair, I think, basically we need to stop that paving and do some more research. Steve, you had something to say. Steve Morris.
Yeah, I know that Jimmy and Dave did meet about this. I believe they also talked with Mr. Watkins too. And some of what you're saying sounds to me like some of what Jimmy was telling me, but you probably get better information from him and or Dave than me. But it sounds like some of the things you're proposing they already had discussed.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to stop and like do other roads first and then do some more research. I don't want to rush it. It's unfortunate that those residents learned about it. You know, it's not our fault because we talk about paving September the year before we do it. So it's not really our fault. People just need to keep themselves informed. But I would like to not rush it through, but do more research. I don't think the entire street is against it anyway. I think 2 people, as far as I know, are against it. But, you know, there are like, I don't know, 20, 15 houses on that street. So there are other people involved too. So I would like to do more research. So I will try to have Cecil and be involved with that. So hopefully we have some more research done for the next Public Works Committee meeting. That's it for me. And then the next one, we had the Guide to Community Deer Management. Bob, you wanted to talk about that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to follow up on a discussion that Vice President DeMarco had started a few weeks ago about the issue with deer and with residents complaining. So knowing that in Pennsylvania, the herd is owned by the state, I wanted to get, I looked and found the Guide to Community Deer Management from the state. If you had a chance to read it, it had some very helpful information. I didn't know a lot of things about deer. Now I know a little bit more. But one of the main things is the need to go forward with some type of a plan. But if we have to ascertain first, do we have a problem? And there was a guide sheet listed. How do you tell if you really have a problem? One of the bullet points was, can residents plant shrubs and flowers with a reasonable expectation of them not being destroyed? Well, that's a no. Additionally, not only plants, but there's tree damage, typically in October. Not back rubs, buck rubs on trees actually damage the whole trunk and the life of the tree is gone. They're very expensive. So that one's for sure. Have there been problems with deer vehicle collisions? Resident complaints shot up recently, or has there been a gradual increase over time? I know on 376, I see dead deer on the road a lot. I also see them walking on public roads here, our residential roads. People slow down not to hit them, but I really don't know if we have vehicle collisions with deer. Mr. Morris, do you know if a deer is dead? I noticed on one of the reports, like removing a dead deer from a park, who actually is responsible to do that? Or if a deer is dead on a resident's property?
If it's on public property, the public works crew does remove it. Roads, public property of some kind. Residential, generally not. It depends on the situation, but generally not. Okay, well, I'm not sure on this one, but I know people have been complaining about the safety in their backyards. I didn't realize, I knew that bucks can get aggressive, but I didn't realize that does can if they have fawns nearby. One grandparent said they were a little concerned because their grandchildren are young and they see the deer in the yard and they think of them like the dog or the cat, that it's a pet, and they don't approach them with any fear, and neither do the deer. They're not afraid either, but there are times when this could be harmful to families and people. And is it a community-wide problem or restricted to certain areas in the community? I think it's pretty much all over the community, but Councilman Watkins had brought up a good point, which is if we do something here, what about our outlying
areas. I believe, Mr. President, you had brought this concern up as well, that if we decide to go forward with something, should we involve other communities? I'd like to have some feedback now if anybody had any questions or comments.
Like I said, I think it's bigger than Forest Hills, that issue. In my mind, it should be county-wide issue, or maybe at least eastern suburbs issue. And since the state owns it, we should talk to the state if they can do something and help with that, and Jay Costa and stuff. I don't think, especially if it's something expensive, Forest Hills can do much about it. Like, I don't know, was it, there was some town, they pay people to hunt deer. Who was it? Dormont or something?
We passed that ordinance too, the October when I wasn't here. The hunting deer in our parks by archers hired for the purpose.
Yes, but anyway, I don't want to pay money for, I don't know, we have to see what's going on. I think one thing we can do, which we already working on, to allow more generously people to put some little fences around their plantings to protect them from deer. So that's something we control, and I think that's what we're already working on, to be more generous about that. That's the easiest, I think.
If you look in that article, the height to control deer on your property is 8 feet.
Yep.
They're going to jump over a little fence. I just want you to know that if we're looking at that as a solution, and some people don't want fences. I've talked, because I made that suggestion. What about fences? Because they're showing me their landscapes are chewed up. They're complaining about the expense. People are getting ticks and then Lyme disease. They're blaming deer. I suggested fences, but they don't like the idea, plus the issue with our ordinance.
Again, yeah, I think it needs to be a statewide eastern or suburbs. I don't know if the state can issue more hunting licenses or more doe license or whatever it's called. I have no clue about that, but the state, it's a state herd. It should be a state's problem, because we definitely have, you can see them walking on the street all the time. They don't even care about you. So anyway.
Anyone else? Mr. Bioki?
Yeah, that article, if you look at it in its entirety, it's a big commitment. It would be a big commitment on the part of the borough. There's a lot of things that would have to change. As you mentioned, there's things you could do, which we'd have to change our ordinance about fencing and that sort of thing. And it's at least a 5-year commitment. And at the end of that 5 years, there's no guarantee that we're going to have a major impact on the herd, because, as you point out, there's other communities around where the deer would be likely to be breeding in any case, and then wander their way back into our community. So I think we'd have to take a real serious look at everything that's in that article to see if that really would benefit us.
One thing that did seem to make sense would be if we could outlaw that deliberate feeding of deer.
Yes.
Because I know there are people who deliberately put out corn and salt licks and things of that nature, which just attract them.
Right. And there have to be penalties for that.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that. We passed the deer feeding ban in Ross Township. And then Ross contracted with an outfit called Whitetail Management, I think. Suburban Whitetail Management. And it's free. They don't charge the municipality anything. But what they do is they recruit hunters to go on either properties that the borough owns or properties that are large enough, owned by private persons, that would permit hunting on the property. And a lot of the North Hills communities are doing this. Ross, Shaler, McCandless, Franklin Park, that's what they've done. Not that I can say it's, in the first few years you see a huge difference, but that's the approach, to sort of regional approach, if you will, up here.
Your communities are much bigger than we are, and they have more areas like that, like parks and stuff. So I think we're too small for
Well,
But-
like at Ross, we didn't allow them to hunt in the parks.
Okay.
So, but some communities do, but we
I
didn't.
do like your no feeding ordinance idea. I think we should just cut and paste that. We should pursue that.
Yeah.
That's like something low hanging fruit. Doesn't cost us anything. Do
Yeah,
definitely.
I think if we could take the pieces that would work for us, that would make sense. I think the hunting becomes a problem. As you know, we had a resident that was complaining about hunting next to their property. I don't think there's a lot of property where you would be able to meet the 50-yard requirement for hunters, for the property line. So
Yeah,
that
I
would
agree.
be a problem.
But the feeding, no feeding, we should definitely pursue. All right. Can we move on
Well,
to?
I want to just in conclusion, so we've established that we have a problem and moving forward. So the only thing that we want to do is have an ordinance against feeding, or would we want to pursue other things and at least check out the suburban whitetail management?
I don't
and-
think we can check it out. I doubt it will work in Forest Hills. We're too small. We have
Should
no
we
problem.
contact, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you weren't finished talking. Should we contact Senator Costa or not?
I think so. It's a state issue. Angelo, you have something.
Yes, before we get too far down the road with this, since it is a controversial issue, I think there should be input from the residents of Forest Hills, not just for us to unilaterally decide that, we need to create an ordinance about however we're going to do it. But
But
I think we
Angelo,
need,
you on the no feeding ordinance.
right, but I think we need resident input.
Yes. Okay, but the no
What
feeding.
would you like them to do? Appear before council? I
Well-
mean, everywhere I go for a walk, I hear it. So
Well,
should I ask them all to come in? How would we do that?
I think we have several avenues to publicize it. We have Tree City Times, we have the website, we have Savvy Citizen. We put some information out and let them know that what we're contemplating, give them an opportunity to respond, and then move forward with that.
All right. Sounds good.
Well,
Yeah.
my thoughts on that are, okay, so if we get 4 people and 2 of them say, I don't want anything done, and 2 of them say, I want to have deer culling. You see what I mean? I would like to have honestly, I want to hear from all the residents as well. But where do we draw the line and say, we have enough input?
Well,
That's my only comment.
I know. What I'm saying is, if we put it out there that we're going to do something, we advertise it, we get no input, and then we move ahead. But doing it without any opportunity for input just leads people to say, oh, the council's just doing whatever they want, like paving the road on Forest Hills. So just to avoid that situation, I think it would be beneficial for us to be a little bit more inclusive. And that was one of the things that we said we wanted more resident input when we ran for office. So I think we should stick to that and make that happen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. We have 2 more issues. Pool sign. We had it in a committee and we asked Angelo with his IT background to dig it into it and do some more research. So if you go to the last page of the agenda, you can see various proposals Angelo collected. So Angelo, you want to talk about this? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I had, there were a few other companies here that I received quotes from, but these were the ones that fell into the kind of the mix where it would be appropriate for us. If you'll notice, I just highlighted the three of the companies, and there were various options. They all offered a good manufacturers: Watchfire, Cirrus, Next LED. The primary difference was in the viewing area and the Wi-Fi plans that they offered. One sign offered a 12, basically wound up 12 square feet of viewing area. The others were 10 square feet, and the smart sign was 18 square feet. The problem was that I think where we're looking at putting the sign, we start to get too big, it's going to look out of place. A 3-foot by 6-foot sign is going to be way too big for that area. Between the other signs, I think my overall opinion was number 2, which was sign stat. It was a little bit more than the $19,000 that the other company was offering, but it had a good viewing area for that location. The Watchfire is a slightly better product than the other manufacturers, and they were providing a new cabinet and new posts, plus they had a life of the sign cellular Wi-Fi. So if you look at the cost, the difference is about over 5 years, it's about, what would I come up with, about $3,000 difference over that 5-year period, if you're considering everything, the cellular plan and the cost of the sign itself. So that's what I'm recommending. I mean, if you could go to one of these other ones, but
to me, it makes sense. I agree, too big of a sign is not good. So I think we should go with your option 2 at that 2 by 5 feet for $25,000. And I like the life of the sign warranty that they will, we don't have to worry about that.
right, the sign itself, the installation, they have a 1-year warranty. Most of these have 1-year warranty on the installation itself. The sign itself is a 5-year warranty. The training they have for the lifetime, same thing for the software upgrades, and then for the cellular.
Everyone else, I think we should put it up as a motion on for property if everyone else agrees.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, we're good with that. Thanks, that was nice and sweet. Next one, Allegheny County agreement. I'm not sure it got hung up in Public Works, but we do it for years. I think we just keep going doing it, and it should be on the August agenda. I'm not even sure why it got pushed to committee of the whole. So I think we should just put it on the agenda for the business meeting to keep doing what we're doing for years. It makes us more efficient. And it's like, to some degree, it's good for us too, because they're like major roads.
Right.
And we want them to be salted as early as possible. If we would have to wait for the county, it would be like probably a low priority road for the county. We rather have it under our control because it's probably a high priority road for us. I think Greensburg Pike is the one, and then Braddock Road is the other one. Yeah. So they're big important road for us. For the county, maybe not. So I would highly recommend we just keep doing what we're doing. Anyone opposing to that? So that should be on the Public Works agenda business meeting. Steve, did you get both of those? Oh, where's Steve? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say what did you say about Greensburg Pike? I missed that.
I thought the 2 roads we're talking about is Greensburg Pike and Braddock.
No, we don't do Greensburg Pike.
But it doesn't matter, but which ones are they?
Okay.
Yost and Braddock.
Yeah, Yost, but they're important roads for us. My argument is we need to do it ourselves because otherwise we would have to wait forever for them to get sorted. So could you please put that on as a motion on Public Works? And the sign option 2, could you please put that on Borough Property? We talked about that already. You good? Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for anything else. I think we're good.
No.
Thank you, everyone. And then don't forget, we will be meeting in 2 weeks, not next week. By the way, I want to thank you, everyone, for being flexible. But somehow they were like, Cindy asked, like, pretty much it was my stepfather or not someone told me my father-in-law. It was not that either. So it was my stepfather. I'm not really close to him, but just to support my mom, I'm going to Germany to help out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.